flexible than arrays in C++, but they have their own place. We're going to be talking about. So one of the things that we want to talk about the array list is the idea that it can grow and shrink as needed. That's one of the things, that it can expand to as many elements as needed. So how do we declare our array list? So for those coming in from C++, you might think about it as a template, but we are going to be putting the type over here.
It's called generic, right?
Yeah, the template, generic template that you were talking about it in your C++, if you copy it in, I don't know, 3A or 8, depending on who you talk to, then, yeah. So we will get to the detail of this, that it will only accept objects. And we're gonna talk in there. So we're gonna put that one in there. And then we're going to create the word new to create a new one. And of course, we're going to put the type here again, and parentheses for the default one. Now, when we create the array list, it's just pointing to nowhere. So it doesn't have any place in the memory. Now, we have to put the stuff in it. So we're going to be using a dot operator. And we're going to be using the add method to add the stuff. So when we're using a dot operator and add, we are adding a stuff to the end of the list. So as we adding more stuff, it's going to go back to the list. So my list is going to be growing. So first is pointing to nothing. So I have friends pointing to nothing. Then I have one element. And then I can have more than one element, and it's just going to keep growing. So in this case, I only have one. Now, get is another method that we have over here. So get is going to give me that element. So in this case, again, we are using a dot operator, and the get is going to give me that value. So I'm going to go to this index, and I'm going to get whatever is in the index. So in this case, because I only have one, I can just use a 0 to get the first element. Of course, if I put anything more than that, I'm going to get an error because I only have one element in there. And then I have another one, it's called set. Remember those getter and setter methods that we talked in chapter 3? So if I want to use a set is going to go to that index, and it's going to change the value to what I'm giving it. So if I put a 0 over here, and I put a name here, it's going to go to index 0, and it's going to change the value to this one. So add, get, set. Questions?
Are they already predefined within
These are all, and that's the whole idea of object-oriented programming. These are all coming in from your class.
So what do we import?
Array list. We're gonna yeah. So it's coming in from the array list. So the class is array list. So these are part of the array list class. Okay, so we're going to declare it. When we are declaring, just like what we were doing before, we're going to have the name of the class at the beginning. We're going to have a variable. We're going to use the new and the name of class with the constructor at the end. So this is where you talk about where is it coming from. It's java.util.ArrayList. That's where is it coming from. And all of those methods are part of the class ArrayList. So it's a generic class. Again, in the bracket, we can only put classes. In the bracket, we can only put classes. And we're going to get to the detail of how we're going to do the rest of the stuff. Okay, so first we're going to be creating an array list that's going to be empty. Then we're going to be adding names in there. So first we are adding Emily, then we're adding Bob. So as we adding is going to be added to the end of the list. Then we're adding Cindy, that's going to be at the end. That's going to be, the size is going to be 3. So as we adding, the array list is going to grow. We are going to be using get, starting with index 0. So if I have size 3, I only have index 0, 1, and 2. We have a method called the size. Again, if you have a good IDE, when you're creating an object of a class and you put a dot in front of it, it's going to tell you what methods you have available. So hopefully we're going to have some time to look at containers at the end of this book and how they are working. So this is going to give me the size. So I'm going to say that the last index that I have is my size -1. So if I put the size and I try to get a value of the size, it's just going to be outside my boundary. So C++ would give it to you, it doesn't say much. Java is going to raise an exception, and we learn how to handle exception. So set is going to go to that index. Of course, if it does exist, if it doesn't exist, it's going to give you an error. And it's going to change the content of index 2, which is my element 3, to this value. Now, you remember that we have overloading method and we have overriding method. We want to be talking about overloading method. So if I use add with one parameter, it's going to go and add it to the end of the list. If I do the same add and I put a number here, it's going to insert this one in that index. That means it's going to push everything down. It's going to open up index 1, and it's going to put this one in index 1. So add, you can have it with one parameter, you can have it with 2 parameters. The remove is going to remove that one, and it's going to, remember, in your array, if you had it sorted, it was your job to do this add and insert and delete. In here, it's going to do it for you. So when you do add, it's going to go to that location and it's going to insert it over there if you have 2 parameters. If you do a remove, it's going to remove it and it's going to move everything up to that location. So it's going to do all the work behind the scenes. That way I don't have to worry about it. Another things that we are going to be looking at is we have something called toString. We talked about it a little bit before, and the toString of a method is going to change the toString method is going to change our class to a string. So when I say println names, it's going to take this array list, it's going to call its toString, and then it's going to print it. A typical way of doing these containers is putting in brackets and a list of everything with the comma between them. So that's a typical way that we're going to be printing stuff. So generally we do this for debugging purposes. Barely we're going to do this for the user, but it's going to be times that we're going to need it. So that's where the print is coming from. Questions? Okay, so we have these names that we already added the three things in there. We are using the add with one parameter. It's going to go to the index one. It's going to push everything. So I'm going to go to index one. So let me put the indexes over here. So I have 0, 1, and 2. So those are my index. Doesn't show very well. So index 0, 1, and 2. So when I say add 1, it's going to push Bob and Carol down, and it's going to insert Anne in index 1. When I say remove 1, it's going to go to 1, it's going to remove that 1, and it's going to push the rest of them up. Any questions? Okay, so we have an advanced for each that we can go through the array list, just like the way we were doing it in array. So you can use the shorthand for loop or add the enhance for loop to go to each element. Again, this is going to go to each element. It's going to take it and it's going to put it in a variable that we are declaring over here. So this is not for modifying my list. It's just going through my list. I want to find my maximum. I want to find my minimum. I want to find the total. I want to find the average. So I can use this for loop for certain ways of doing it. If I want to modify my array list, I definitely have to use this kind of a for loop. I would suggest you practice on this. It's just some ways of doing it. But again, it's not going to be applicable for everything you want to do. So for me, if I want to modify my array list, I'm going to use the second for loop. If I don't want to modify my array list, I'm going to use the first for loop. Questions? Okay, remember we talked about this before and we bring it up again and again. If you are assigning one object to another one, it's going to copy the address in the memory. So they're both going to be pointing to the same location. If you do the assignment for any object, it's going to copy its address in the memory. Most of the time, we do not want this. What was the method for arrays to make a copy of one to the other one?
Clone.
No. Yeah, the cloning, it wasn't called clone, it was called something else.
I don't know.
You guys are really twisting my hand to have quizzes more often. Are you telling me that nobody in this class read the chapter regarding arrays? Or how to resize your array?
A pushback?
No, don't make up
Copy off.
stories.
I don't know.
Pushback is vectors in C++.
Oh, my bad. I don't know.
Well, you guys better figure it out. Yeah, that was the last one was correct. It's called copy of. All right, so to do it correctly for array list, we are going to create a new object and we can pass another array list as a parameter. So in my constructor, I can accept another array list. So if I want to create a new one to copy, if I want to copy one to another one, this is the way we're going to do it. So we're going to create a new array list. We're going to pass the other array list as a parameter, and that's the way we're going to do it. This is the way we're going to copy it. So if I just call the default constructor, it's going to give me an empty array list. That is an array list that's pointing to nowhere. So the value of it is going to be null. Remember, this variable names is going to contain an address in the memory. When my array list is empty, it's not pointing to anywhere. It's just empty. So we're adding two things to it. My size becomes what is my size?
2.
Huh?
2.
2. I guess the rest of the people are taking a nap or something. To make this more interesting for you guys. So it's going to add elements to the end. What is this going to give me? If I say system.out.println names, what is that going to print out for me?
And comma Cindy.
What it is going to have around it?
The brackets.
Bracket, a square bracket, and comma Cindy. Okay, so that's what's going to print. Okay, so if I do add one Bob, how is my list going to look like now?
And Bob Sydney.
Good. So that's, if I print again, that's what's going to give me. Okay. What's going to happen if I remove a 0?
Bob and Cindy are going to print.
Bob and Cindy is going to print it. Yes. What about if we set 0 to Bill?
Bill Bob Sydney.
No, it's Bill
No.
Cindy.
Oops, sorry.
Go ahead. Who was that? Alicia, Megan? Who was talking?
It's Bill Cindy.
Bill, Cindy. Yeah, that's correct. We're going to go to index 0. We're going to change it to Bill. Okay, now that I have Bill and Cindy, I have a name equal names that get. So get the 0 is going to give me Bill. Get 1 is going to give me Cindy. Get 2 is going to give me an error. So now I am getting name size -1. What is this going to give me?
The last one,
Which is
Cindy in this case.
Cindy, yes. What is this going to do for me? So I'm creating an array list. I'm calling it a square. It is type of integer, and we're gonna talk why this integer is capital I instead of lowercase I integer. So we're going from 0 to 10. We multiply I by I, and we're gonna add it to our square. How many elements? What's the size of my array list?
10.
10. And we have, what do we have in there?
It's gonna print all the squares up to 100, or like 1, 2, 4, 16.
So my I goes from 0 to 9. My last one is going to be 9 times 9, which is 81. Okay, good. Very good. Okay, now we're going to be talking about this. So I said earlier that this brackets gonna accept only classes. So we can only pass object to it. You cannot do primitive type. Remember, we talked about 8 primitive type, and those types were not classes. So everything in Java was classes except those 8 things that we talked about, that they were not classes. Now, we need classes over here. So Java has a utility that's going to make those 8 primitive to class. They call the wrapper classes. So why do we need it? Because we cannot put the primitive inside the brackets. So we're going to be doing the wrapper class. So the 8 that we have with the lowercase are primitive type that's going to be passed by value, and basically they are not classes. So we're going to take those and we're going to move it to the right part, and we're going to make a class out of it. So integer with capital I is a class, an object that's going to have integer type. So this is the way we're going to have it. So that's our utility, because we need that for what we're doing for ArrayList. ArrayList only can accept class. So to make a class, we're going to use a utility to change it from primitive to a class. So if we use everything on the right side, then everything that we're going to be using is going to be classes in Java. So that means what? If I am going to put double and I want to create array list of double, I cannot use the double with lowercase d. I have to use double with uppercase d. Uppercase d is a class. This one is not a class. So I have to use a class. Of course, at the beginning, when we are practicing these things, you're going to put a lowercase d over there, and compiler is going to complain about it. And that's where your complaint is going to come. So your Java has a utility that's going to change these things back and forth. So if it sees a class, it's going to take your primitive and put it as a class. And if it sees as a primitive, it's going to take your class and change it to primitive value. So it does those conversion for you. So you don't have to worry about it. It's going to happen. So that means what? If I have a number, which is a type lowercase double, and I put it inside the array list of uppercase double, it's going to take the number, it's going to change it to a class, and then it's going to add it to my array list. And vice versa. When I pick up something from my array list of double, it is a type of a class. It's going to take that one, it's going to change it to a primitive type, and then I can assign it to something else. It does all of those things in the back end. We don't have to worry about it, but it's called auto boxing. It's going to do the conversion between primitive types. So I am putting a capital D over here. That means it is what?
It is a class of.
The class. So if I put 2995 in there, it's going to take this 2995, which is not a class, it's going to change it to a class, and it's going to put it in. Now, I am going to go and put it back into a primitive type. So now that's going to be a class. This wrapper is a class. It's going to take it, and it's going to change it to a primitive, and it's going to put it back there. So that's the way it's going to happen. Okay, so this is true for your C++. I don't know how much you guys spend time on your data structure on array versus vector or dynamic allocation memory. So they have their places. Having Java making array a little easier for us, we have to think about it. We cannot just blindly say, okay, everything is going to be array or everything is going to be array list or however it's going to be. So we got to think about it. If I know exact size, remember in arrays, you can have partially filled array, which is a little bit of work. So if I know the size of what I want to do, I have a fixed size, then arrays are going to be more efficient. It's going to be less work at the runtime. Now, if I have a lot of insertion and deletion, especially if it is sorted, then I'm going to have some issues with my array because I have to write the algorithm and I have to do it. And if I do a lot of them, remember, I have to move them myself. ArrayList does it for me, but it still is happening in the behind the scenes. So we got to figure out which one is going to be better to do. Now let's compare how it's happening. So when I'm doing the array, I am using lengths. Remember, it's just instance variable. It is not a method. So I'm going to be using the lengths to go from the beginning to the end. I set the first one to the largest, and then I start with the next one, index 1, all the way to the end of the array. If I find something higher than this, I'm going to set it to that. This is the way you're going to find your maximum for 714 if that's what you're going to be doing. Remember, if you have a class that you could potentially make it as public instance variable for your 714, I could do customers I dot what was that, price or whatever you call it, or I can say dot name. So I can go through it and check for the price to see which one is the highest. And instead of the largest, I can save just the index of my largest. So I know which one is the largest. That would be your algorithm for that one. Now, if you decide to do the same problem through ArrayList, then instead of doing the bracket, you have to use the get. So we're going to get the first element. We're going to set it to my maximum. My maximum is going to be the first element. Of course, if I really want to pay attention on what I'm doing, I would check the size of my array list to be sure it's not empty before I get the index 0. So I would have if a statement before this, that if size is greater than 0, then I would do the rest of these things. If the size is 0, I shouldn't be doing this because I'm going to get exceptions. So I'm going to get the first one, I'm going to put it to my max, and then I go through my array list. And for array list, we will have a size instead of the lengths, and the size is a method. So I'm going to have the parentheses for it. And then I do I++. So that's the comparison. With the array, we're going to use brackets. In here, we're going to do .get. For arrays, we have .lengths. For array lists, we have .size. Are we good?
I have a quick question before we move on.
Sure.
Is there a way to like initialize an array list with like a predefined array? Because I didn't find that in the book.
So you want to make an array to an array list? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
That's a good question. So we need to have array list. Array list is empty. So the only way I'm thinking about it right now is if you create an, okay, so array list has two constructors. One is empty, the other one is going to accept another array list. As far as I know, it doesn't have a constructor for arrays. I'm going to try it out, and you can try it out, to pass an array as a constructor. But the next option would create a new empty ArrayList list and just go through the the length of my array and just use add to my ArrayList. list. So here I would have something like this. This is the simplest way of doing it that I can do. So I would go through my values, and in here, I would just say whatever name of my array list is dot add, and then put this one in there. So let's say my array list is something else. So my values array list dot add, and then I put values I. This is the one that comes to my mind right away, but I would give it a try to see what's going to happen if I just pass array instead of array list. Why would you want to do that anyway?
I don't know. I was just pretty curious
That's a good thing. Okay.
because like with C++, there's a lot of like functionality in between two things, and then there's like a certain way you can transform one thing to another. I was
How
just
would
thinking
you transfer array to a vector in C++?
we can initialize it with one of the vector's constructors using an array.
Or to put the size for your array list for a vector and initialize it with an
Sort of
array?
like
I don't know that one in C++ neither. How does it work? Tell me, how does it work?
It's we make a new vector object, and in the same line where we declare it, we can just put in an array, and then the constructor will automatically
Are you talking about an array, or are you talking about the braces with the default values?
I think we're not on the same page right now.
That's, yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
Do you have something you want to share with me so I see where you're going with it? I can tell you one thing, that if it is available in C++, definitely you're going to have it in Java.
Okay.
Java is trying to do C++ in an easier way. So if you have it in C++, most likely you have it in Java. Maybe a little different, but you will have it. Do you want to share something? Do you want to show me what you talk about?
I don't have it on hand right now.
Okay.
So
Give it a try and post it in the discussion. That's a good discussion thing to do. I like that you're taking things one step further and you're exploring and thinking about things. That's a good thing to do. And yeah, we figured it out. So post something in a discussion so we can talk about it.
all right.
Good thinking. Anybody else? Okay, so to read stuff to the array list, remember in your arrays, you have to be sure you don't go outside of your size. In here, I don't have to worry about it. It's just going to keep adding to the end of it. but I do have to check to see if I have double. And you can see that we are going to be doing double with the capital D. And then we're just going to read it and add it to the array list. So in dot next double, I'm going to read it over here and I'm going to add it over here. I already check it to be sure it has double, so it's not going to go outside of my range. If I am removing my matches, so let's say that I want to remove everything that has less than certain size. I can go through the list, find what is it that I want to do, and then if that's going to match it, I can remove it for whatever match I'm looking for. I can look for exact match, I can look for a range. Remember, with the string, you can check for less than, greater than also. So I can check for the strings or less than certain things. So I can go through my whole array list and check for strings greater than B or something in that manner. So your book is talking about hand tracing, designing on a paper before you actually write the code, and that's what it's talking about. I am in favor of that, that you separate your thinking than your coding. So spend some time on thinking part, designing, write it down. Some people like to do brainstorming, some people like to do flow charting. I'm giving you guys some design document to think about it. Your book is doing that too. So think about those things before you do it. So in this case, we are looking at the word lengths to be less than 4. So why do you think we are using while instead of the for loop? Why do we use while in this? Go ahead.
We don't know the size of the word. We just
We know the size of the word. We know the size of the list.
oh, I don't know.
Because if we remove from like, if we remove anything from our array list, then it will affect the while loop, making it inconsistent.
Yes. So if I have when we're removing stuff from the list, my size is going to change. So if I start with certain size, or if I'm going through each number of those things, it can go off because my size is changing while I'm going through those things. Using the while loop, we are only going to be adding 1 to our index if we are not removing it. So if we are not removing it, I'm going to move over. But if you're removing it, remember, if let's say I'm removing index 2. So if I remove the index 2, my index 3 becomes index 2. So basically everything is going to come back. If I'm using a for loop, it's going to skip 1 when I remove it. So that's why we are using a while loop over here, and we're only going to add to our index if we are not removing it. Does that make sense? Okay, the things that we can do with the array list that we cannot do with the arrays. The array list can grow and shrink. Arrays have a nicer syntax. We can use the bracket and all those kind of things. So if we have a fixed size, we definitely should use the array. That's going to make our program more efficient, even though the computers are much faster nowadays. Still, we have to think about efficiency. That is going to be part of your software engineering course. Not only are you going to be writing programs, you're going to make efficient programs. So if we have a fixed size, we're going to be using arrays. If we have a primitive type and it's going to be a long list, then maybe the array is going to be a better option. So remember, every time you're using ArrayList, your primitive type is going to be changed to class of that type, and then it has to transfer back. So it's going to be doing some work behind the scene. So if you're doing a lot of work with your primitive type, especially if it's a long list, then maybe array is going to be a better way of doing it. So if it's not these things, then we're going to be using ArrayList. Okay. Bracket. Okay. What about the ArrayList?
Get.
Using the get. Okay, that's good. What about if I want to replace an element? So if I want to replace values 4 with something else, what do I do? Come on, you guys know this. CS2 stuff.
Values 4 equals something else.
Yeah. What about for ArrayList?
Set.
Set. Okay, good. Very good. Number of elements. How do I know how many elements do I have in an array?
Dot length.
That length, very good. What about ArrayList?
Dot size.
Size. Don't you guys like my creation over here?
Wait, you created it?
Yeah. Well, I do some things in this class. Number of filled element. So remember, if you have arrays, there is a partially filled array. So you may have not elements in all of your array. So if it's partially filled, what do we do? We're using the current size. Can we have a partially filled array list?
No.
No. So it's just going to be the size. Okay. What about removing an element from your array? So remember, we have two types. One is your array is sorted. One array is not sorted. So what do we do? First, let's talk about it if it's not sorted. So I have an array filled with stuff. We call the array values. And I want to remove element 4, index 4. What do we do?
Can you not do that with an array? Because it
Yeah,
can't-
we do that with the array.
Oh, okay. Well, then it would just be dot remove.
No.
The like values bracket values dot remove bracket 4.
Okay, so let's think about it.
Uh-huh.
If I have an array and I want to remove element number 4, if I remove it, what's going to happen? I have to put something in there. What is it I'm going to put in there? If my array is not sorted, I'm going to go grab the last element and I put it in the one that I'm removing. And then I'm going to change my current size -1. So if my original size of my array was 20, and I had 15 elements in it, so my current size was 15. So if I want to remove number 4, I'm going to go to number 14. I'm going to remember my current size is 15. So I'm going to go to 14. I'm going to take that one, put it in number 4, and change my current size from 15 to 14. So it doesn't matter what I have in 15 anymore, because I'm just going to look at my array for 14 elements. If I'm doing it as a sorted one, I cannot do this. I have to keep moving everything up. Please read the course material. This is a part of your array section. Section 7.3.6. Read it. So for array list, you just do a remove and it's going to remove it for you. So if I want to add an element in my array and I'm out of size, so my size is 20 of my array, and I want to add more stuff, what do I need to do for my array?
We have to check if the array is full. If it's not,
Okay,
then
we
append
check it and it's full. Now what are you going to do?
Then we have to declare an array with at least one more in size in memory allocation, and then we put it on the end and update the size later.
Okay, how do we do that? That's a good direction. That's a good thing. Remember, we talked about the copy of. So when you're doing the copy of array, you're going to accept another array and you're going to accept a size for it. A typical way is you get the lengths, you multiply it by 2, and then you copy the stuff in there and you put it back into the same one. So it's going to be values equal values copy of parentheses, and then you're going to put the values dot length times 2 at the second part and the values. So you're going to take the array, you're going to make a copy of it, you're going to make the size twice or whatever you want, plus 1. Generally, if you're adding 1, most likely you're going to need to add more, but your book is suggesting one way is multiplying the size by 2. Now I'm going to have an array of size 40, and now when I did that, now I can add 21. You guys need to read. Section 7.3.7. How do we do that with ArrayList?
Do you post these PowerPoints on your?
These are your book. This is right off your book. This is table 3 comparing ArrayList from your book. I did not, I mean, I made it a little fancier, but it is coming from your book. I did not write it. Everything in the PowerPoint is coming right off your book. Please read your book. How do we grow our array list?
Add.
Yeah. Add is going to add an element to the array list. Okay. Last one, initializing a collection. So if I want to create an array and put some values in it, how do I do it? And this is not even Java thing, it's a CS2 thing. How do you create an array and initialize it at the same time?
We declare an array of any fundamental type or primitive type, and then we set it equal to a bracket of a series of that type.
Bracket or
variable.
braces?
Braces.
We don't put any number here because it's going to pick it up from here. Remember, if you create certain size array, it will initialize it to its default value. So if I want it all 0, I don't have to put anything. Java is going to do it for me. Okay, how do we do it with ArrayList? ArrayList does not have the initialization. ArrayList does not have an initialization. This is what I thought you were talking about, Jonathan. Okay, so we are looking for a queue to quit. So we are getting numbers, and as soon as the user put the queue, we're gonna stop it. So we're gonna read it. And as far as it has a next double, we're going to add it to our array list. And as far as it's not a double, they put anything else beside the double, they're going to get out. And then I can go and find the largest one. This is your maximum. If you decide to use array list instead of arrays for number 14, you can do this. Of course, you're going to have one more dot over here because you're going to have array list of objects. So you're going to create a class that has a name and price, and then you put that one inside your array list. So it's going to be values dot price, values dot